Welcome back to the podcast. I want to talk about the mind today and our relationship with our thoughts. Because for a lot of people, this relationship with the mind and thoughts is just killing them. Geez, it's killing you. It's killing you and it has to stop. There's something beautiful that happened lately. Somebody that I deeply care about came to me and said, "Look, I'm tired. I don't want to live like that. I'm sad. I'm angry. I see myself flashing at, situations in my life. I'm deeply sad and I don't want to live like that. That's not me." And that's beautiful. If you come to a point in your life where you realize you don't want to live like that anymore, this intent, this realization and this intent is so strong and so beautiful because that will propel you to the next step, the next leap of your own evolution. And that's the fuel you need for your growth. If you don't have that, well, you haven't suffered enough, or you're not conscious enough, and you're not ready. And this will happen to us at a different intensity, different scale, for different reason. There's no benchmark, there's no comparison here. But that is the starting point of something beautiful, and that's the spiritual path. The spiritual path is not about the hours you spend in meditation and the books that you read and the fact that you can recite, the scriptures and the retreats that you do and the ayahuasca trip that you did and the psychedelics that you're experimenting with and all of that jazz. That's not it. These are practices. These are just stuff that you do in order to free yourself from yourself. And I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in what you're doing when you're not doing these things. And when you come to me and you say, "I'm tired of living like this," well, you're not talking about your practices, because when you do your practices, you're not thinking about that. So there's this beautiful thing that happens when you come to this crossroads of realizing, I don't want to live like this anymore. Now what? Well, now you start where you're at. You might have the end in mind, which is happiness, for everybody. Ask anyone, rich or poor, what they truly want. And if you go into the layers of the ego and the egoic needs and whatever might come out first, we're all going to get to the same answer: happiness. So that's the end in mind. Now, where I'm at, what's the situation, and what do I do about it? It's like this bullshit about non-dualism and action and non-action. People get so confused with all that. Like, you're here, you're living life. You're going to do things. You don't think that you're not going to do anything and everything's going to solve by its own. That's ridiculous. It's a happening place. You're doing things. You're going to have to do things to free yourself from yourself. Because right now, if you're suffering, if you're sad inside, if you're having difficulties with your relationship, if you think you're depressed, because you're not depressed, you're only staring at something that's depressed within you. Let's be clear. You don't need no big old psychoanalysis. If you feel depressive, that's what it is. It's just a feeling, because you're not that. And if you think you're depressed, yes, you are, because you're fusing with that thought and all of the habits and everything that's coming along with staring at a part of your psyche that's depressed. So if you're all that, or if you're in there somewhere, and then you say, no, I don't want to live like that, that's enough. Well, you just made the first major step and leap towards your next evolution, your next growth. And that's beautiful. That's the most beautiful thing you can do. Have the strong intent to change what needs to change so I don't feel like this anymore. I don't live like this anymore. And that's at any level: professional, personal, relationship, with your family, kids, parents, within yourself, for yourself, at all levels. It all starts there. That's the gateway, your intent. That's why they say that's intention is key. Yes, it is. Because if this intention is strong enough, then nothing can stop you. You will be your worst enemy on this path. You will face yourself, and the pull is strong. When you're suffering, when you're sad, when you're going all through that jazz, your mind is conditioned to fuse with those situations and experiences and moments and circumstances and people that spark that within you. And that's a very low energy, and that's a very dense energy, and you'll be sucked in this, I call it the vicious cycle. You'll be sucked in this vicious cycle if you're not careful enough to distance yourself from this whenever the pull happens. So you're in this bad spot in your life, and you have a tendency to criticize, to judge, to see things very darkly, and to be sad. If you do all that, you just feel sad inside. Well, what do you do now? Where do we start? You need to use your mind and the power of your mind to create some distance and a perspective shift on whatever is happening here. And you can start small. You don't need to go for the big stuff right away. Oftentimes, if you're just geared that way, it's because you've been geared that way for a very long time. Your past conditionings and your past experiences just led you to be this. And now, slowly, you need to chip away at it and start to make a shift. If you want to go deep into why and when and those psychoanalysis, and then just go and play with the big stuff right away, chances are you're going to fall off the wagon. Don't go for the mommy and daddy story right away. That will get solved as you progress. Naturally, by the way, but you can also work at it in a much more easy, softer way. And that's by starting with small stuff now. If you go to grab a coffee and the line is long, and then the people in front of you starts to chat with the cashier, and then you start bitching because that's going to get you late and whatnot, and then you get your coffee and it's not warm enough to your taste and doesn't taste like you can find so many reasons to be pissed and mad and bitch and criticize and point the finger. But every time you do that, don't forget there's three fingers pointing at you. It all starts within. So if you find yourself in this situation, for instance, how about you work with that? How about you try to find some positive in all this, whatever that might be? How about you try to use a situation to say, good for the person in front of me. Maybe he's having a bad day and the cashier is just, sprinkling a little bit of happiness in this person's life. Or maybe you can say, hey, here's a person that's taking care of the people they serve. How about you appreciate that? How many people you see in your line of work or in life in general that just don't care about other people? They're there to do a job, check in, check out, and they don't treat people well. How about you find a little appreciation for this person who's sparkling joy and taking care and serving people well? How about you find an opportunity to catch up? That sounded like catch up. To catch up on an email or a reading that you meant to do that you saved in your reading list. Hey, good. Thank you. The line is a little bit longer today. It's giving me time to do this instead. Just find something for God's sake. It's not hard. You just need to put your mind to it and have that perspective. But you're not going to be able to do that if right away you fuse with the instincts of fusing with whatever's coming up in your mind at the first place, which is trash. People talk about mental health, and that's very popular out there in the business world also. Very hypothetical, hypocritical at times, honestly. But I'll be honest with you, we all suffer from mental health because this is all happening for us at one point in time in our life. Wherever we're on the path, we slide down a lot, even though, you might not going through a dark time and you're suffering and whatnot, whatever your situation is. Don't bullshit me here, please. If you're reasonable and if you're honest, we can all agree that sometimes we fall off the wagon too, because we spin off, we go into this vicious cycle of going with the impulse of our mind and our heart. That's your psyche right there. Don't go study Freud and then dive into all of the psychological books that you can get out there. That's right there in one sentence. Your spinning mind and emoting heart that are shooting bad stuff at you is your psyche, and that's your ego. That's what it is. And we all go down for this pool. So we all suffer from mental health. So let's put it this way. All right. Therefore, cultivating the awareness to not go for this pull, for this lower energy stuff, for this heart that is shooting weird emotion at you, is the gateway to heaven. Let's put it this way. You can dive into all the practices that you want. You can meditate for 6 hours a day if you want. I try that. You can go and read all of the spiritual books. Check that. You can go and do the retreats and meet with the gurus and check that. I did all that. When it's all said and done, if you're not able to catch yourself in the moment when it is happening, you're doomed. It's that simple. You can be as high as you think you are. You can be as spiritual as you think you are. If in the moment that your kid says something that you do not like and you feel the pull, the lower energy, the heart saying something, bad emotion comes up, the mind is starting to criticize. If you go with that in the moment that your kid says something, or that your colleague says something, or that your boss says something, or that your spouse says something that doesn't sit well for you, if you're not able to catch yourself in that moment and not go with the pull, and spin off in this vicious cycle, you're doomed. That's the first thing. How do I get there? How do I get there to the point where I'm able to catch myself going with the pull of those bad energies, heart and mind and thoughts? It's just a process. You got to be gentle with yourself. You're not going to master this tomorrow. I mean, come on. Great saints and masters have practiced this their whole life before being able to pull it off. And even them say that that doesn't go away. They still have those, emotions that are coming up and those thoughts that are running into their mind that are not helpful, that are negative, that are very dense and low in energy. But the difference is that they don't go with it. They don't play there. We do. That's what makes us human. But we're not just human, right? Oh, what are you saying there, Max? This is weird. This is a bit esoteric. No, it's not. If you spend enough time with yourself to go inside and try to uncover who you truly are, you're going to find out that you connect with a part of you that doesn't have to do with what the heart has to say and what the mind has to say when something happens. There's a part of you that is much bigger than that. That is much, much, much more beautiful than that. That is your soul. That is your conscious. That is your consciousness. That is your Atman. That is, call it whatever you want. There is a great part of you that doesn't have to deal with all this human aspect of you are. And that's your savior. That's this part of you. If you cultivate the ability to connect there, stay there, sit there, frame it however you want so that it makes sense for you. Let's put it this way. If you cultivate your ability to sit in the seat of your consciousness, which is, here I am. I often imagine it for myself as a pair of eyes hovering over my head. That's who I really am. If you're able to be the spectator of your own life, you're sitting in a seat of your consciousness. And from that seat, you're able to say, oh, hold on here. I can see that something is cooking up inside now because my boss just told me that my presentation sucked. And it's hitting a sweet chord inside. I don't like it. Now, something's coming up. Bad feeling, maybe a negative thought. Something is cooking here. And it doesn't smell good. And I'm not going to go with this. That's how you free yourself from yourself. That's how you get out of this vicious cycle. That's how you heal yourself. That's how you evolve. That's how you're walking the spiritual path. All the same. Name it. This is it. It's about consciousness. It's about being mindful. It's about being compassionate with yourself. It's all about love. It's about being patient. You're not going to master this tomorrow. It took me years and years and years to overcome some of that stuff. And the big stuff, it took me a long time. A shitload of time. Sorry, excuse my French. But if you practice this and you become better, you're going to see that the gap between I'm getting pulled in, sucked in, and I'm being aware and I'm doing the right action, I'm staying in the right state. The gap between those two shortens, meaning it might take you years and months before you get over something. But as you practice, this shortens, this time gap shortens. All to say that at one point, something is going to stir up inside. You're not gonna, your heart's going to have to something to say, your mind too. And then you're going to be aware enough to see it all happen. And maybe, indulge in this vicious cycle for a little bit. And this will shorten. It's going to go from years to months to days to hours to minutes to seconds. You're going to go through that. I promise you. And then there's the next stage after that too. At one point, you're still going to notice all that. You're still going to feel that pull. But you're going to be aware and conscious enough to not even go with it. It's going to be just sliding off your back. You become a little duck. That's what you're capable of. And the only reason I can talk to you like this is because I've done it. That doesn't make me a saint. That doesn't make me a guru. Far from that. I still fall off the wagon sometimes. But I've experienced this. And it's so beautiful. It's so comforting. It's so loving. It's so... there's no word for it. You're just like... with God, when you're about to do that, there's nothing more beautiful than this. So I haven't given you much techniques, haven't I? But here's what I can tell you. Let's try to be orderly here in this process and what's happening. If you're tired of living life with a chip on your shoulder, or sufferings, or anxiety, or stress, or depression, wherever you fit in that scale, you're tired, you're aware of that, you want to do something about it, good on you. I'm proud of you. You've realized the most important thing that is necessary for you to take the next step, the next big leap. Now you need to live up to that. This intention needs to be strong enough that you stick to it. Just like people will do New Year's resolution about their diet, let's say. This year, I'm going to be in shape. I'm going to stop eating that and this or whatnot and decide on. That will last 2 months, and then they're back in the rabbit hole. We can talk about habits as long as you want and how you should do it and the atomic habits and whatnot. You can read all the books about it. It goes back to your intention and the willpower and your willpower. Will is the strongest thing you have. If you don't cultivate it, and you don't stick to it, nothing's going to happen in any realms of your life. So that's the gateway. That's the starting point, and it's the gateway. Be strong in your resolution that I'm done with this shit. Excuse me. I'm swearing. I'm done with this. I don't want to live like this anymore. Let's go. Now what do we do? You practice. You practice using everything that's going to come up in your life as a way to free yourself from the stuff you stored inside. Anything. I don't know. I'm looking outside. It's fall now. The leaves are falling. They're literally everywhere. Here's an example. You're in this you're out. Okay, look, you want to free yourself, right? You don't want to be sad anymore. You don't want to bitch about life. You don't want to criticize. You don't want to be angry. You want to have good relationships. Whatever it is. You're going to wake up that morning. It's fall. You're going to look outside. You're going to say, oh man, look at all those leaves. Now I've got to go outside. I'm going to spend all my day raking and bagging and put it away. And it's cold. I don't feel like doing it. Now while I'm doing this, I can't do that. Do you see what you're doing? This is what's happening for so many people. You're literally becoming your worst enemy. You're cornering yourself. And then you're making yourself miserable. All of that with the power of your mind and the fact that you're not being aware of what you're doing. And you're going with the pull of those lower energies that are in you. No, let's not do that. Instead, to look outside, look how beautiful it is, first of all. Thank God for the beauty that you get to experiment, because you don't have anything to do with it, nor do you have anything to do with being here, nor your parents do, by the way. But that's a different story, you know. Did they make you? No. They made love and you came, you know. Nobody can make a baby. So you're here. You have eyes to see, if you're lucky, and you're looking outside at this beautiful show of nature, of the leaves falling. They're all multicolor. They all have a shape of a heart also, by the way, which is quite a funny, right? Nobody notices that. And then you're here bitching about it because you're gonna have to rake and back them and spend time outside in nature, a nature that you didn't create, that brought you to life, that allows you to have experiences and have fun and smell. And come on, man or girl, there's so many things that you can be grateful for, and there's so many things that you can enjoy in this lifetime that you get to live. You're only here for a short time. Come on, you're going to be here for 80 or 100 years, maybe a little bit later, more if you're lucky. And you spend your time bitching about the leaves that are falling? What's wrong with you? No. Thank it. Have fun picking them up, every single one of them. And use this moment, this beautiful moment that is given to you, to free yourself from yourself. Because, hey, you could either bitch and criticize and go down a vicious cycle about it, or you can use your mind, your higher mind, the one that sends people to the moon, and say, how lucky am I? And how about I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to let go of the negative voice that came off in this first place, and the bad emotions that I'm feeling in my life right now. And how about I use this to free myself from the stuff that I'm imposing on myself? Because yes, you're responsible for that, by the way. I'm being tough with you here today, but that's the truth. I know you can do this. You know, sometimes people might think that I'm not listening well. I'm not being empathetic enough or compassionate enough with what folks have to share with me. But I see who you are. And you're none of that criticizer, victim, judge, and suffering little species. You're not that. So get to work, folks. Get to work. Work with yourself. And you're going to do that. You don't have to seek and wonder, how am I doing this, Max? How do I work with myself? Every little single opportunity is going to be given to you at every day, every moment. While you go to work, while you wait in line at the coffee shop, while you're in traffic, while you're with your kids, while you're everywhere, anywhere that you do. If you get some stuff that needs to be cleansed inside, they're going to come up inevitably. I promise you this without any single shred of a doubt. What you need to cleanse inside, it's different for you, it's different for me, it's different for everybody, is going to come up naturally just by waking up in the morning. Just by waking up in the morning. And literally, when I say that, just by waking up, this alone is the proof in the pudding. How many of you are waking up and then the mind starts and it starts spinning and thinking about what you need to do today and the stuff you need to accomplish and how late you are for this and that project and whatnot and the problems that you have and how am I going to pay for this and how I need to repair that and it can go freaking fast and it can go in a downward spiral within seconds as you open your eyes. What's funny enough about that is you just slept very well for 8 hours, or give or take. And then as soon as you open your eyes, you get into a mental spin. How can you sleep for 8 hours and be completely at peace and then wake up and open your eyes and go in this mental spin in a second? Well, that's up to you. You're doing it. I'm not. Nor is your, lovely second half lying next to you. Nobody even talked to you yet. You're the one talking inside. And you're the one going in a mental spin, an emotional spin about whatever is coming up into your mind and your thoughts. That thing is going to run off on its own. You cannot kill it. You've been given a mind to think. It's going to think. It's like a toaster. A toaster makes toast. A mind thinks. That's what it's for. Don't criticize your mind. It's doing its job. But what you consciously or unconsciously are feeding it is of your own doing. And then that's why I'm saying that every moment, every turn, your life is your guru. Your life is unfolding as it is. And that's giving you the opportunity to clean and cleanse whatever is up inside. It's going to come up via comment, via what you see, via even what you smell. How many one of us will go into our house at one point or enter a shop or a restaurant and we get that whiff of the wonderful, pumpkin pie that your mom used to do at fall time. And some of us will rejoice in that and some of us will start crying. Why? Because we've experienced something different and we stored it inside. And that event, as an example, is the perfect event that you need to maybe let go of something. And that's why I'm saying, go do all the practices as you want. They're wonderful. They all help. I've meditated. I've tried a bunch of stuff from working with shamans and doing retreats and whatnot. I tried all this and I had fun doing it. And they helped in many aspects. But the great guru, the great liberator, is your life. And your life is very different than mine and than everybody else. Can you use it? Can you use what's happening in your business today to evolve, to grow, to give back, to serve, maybe even to heal something within? Can you? Yes, you can if you wish. And we're going back to intent, to willpower. And then you work with yourself. There's no concept. I'm never going to create a program around this. What program can I create? The program is this: life is unfolding, something is happening. Use it and raise yourself. That's the program right there. Use every moment to raise yourself or make it better. If you don't have anything to learn or heal or cleanse out of any particular situation, then good for you. Now, can you just raise the moment? Give it back. Serve. That's what you need to do. Geez, if you can only do that. I'm reminded of Baron Katie. Great woman. Many of us know her for her work. She actually calls it the work. We know her because she's been on Friends and she's been on Oprah, and great lady. She's done a tremendous amount of work to help people free themselves and grow. And I had the blessing of being coached once by her one-on-one. And as I was reflecting on this lately, and if you don't know, I spent a great deal of my career in sales. So there's a sales book that came to mind when I was thinking about the work she did with me and the work she's doing with people. And the book that came to mind was Challenger Sell. Don't ask me to summarize the book. I don't remember it. But just the title itself summarize it pretty well. Challenger Sell. Can you be a challenger in the context of whatever you're selling? Now, there's a greater truth than this, and there's a greater application of this book in all of our life. And I should trademark this probably. But I came up with this. There's challenger sell. Now can you be a challenger self? That's what it is, really. You want to walk the spiritual path? And you want to grow? And you want to evolve? Challenge yourself. Not in the mountains that you can climb and the marathons that you can run. It's all good. It's all fine. If you don't do this, that's fun. I see a lot of entrepreneurs out there, killing themselves to be super disciplined, having this diet and running those marathons and climbing those mountains and doing all these crazy things that push their limits. And that's cool. That's fine. Do it if if you're into this. But can you do that with every single moment in front of you? Now that's the greatest challenge. And that's the one you need to master. Challenger self. The self, the one with a small s. If you read any spiritual books out there, you'll often hear or read self with a, capital S and self with a lower cap S. The lower cap one, self, is the ego. That's the lower part of you. You don't need that stuff in your life. People will tell you that it can help and no, you don't need that. Trust me, you can live a beautiful life without that. The self with the capital S is not your ego. It's your soul. It's your conscious. It's your consciousness. It's your Atman. You call it whatever you want. Can you challenge your small self with the big self? That's what they say in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, the charioteer, the God disguised, tells to his warrior Arjuna, raise the self with the self. That's what he means. If you remain conscious, alert, mindful, and use every situation that is given to you to either contribute or heal what needs to be healed or cleanse what needs to be cleansed inside of you, you're doing it. And then don't worry about the pace at which you're doing it. You don't have to be enlightened tomorrow. Just be patient. Work with yourself. Be compassionate. And raise yourself with yourself. Raise your ego past your ego by using your capacity of being aware. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm trying to use other words here for you. You're a conscious being. You know that. Well, how do you know? Because, heck, I see things happening. And I see things happening for myself. You're a conscious being. That's what you are. That's what never dies. That part of you is capable of helping you rise above your small self, your ego, your all of those concepts and needs and hopes and dreams and things that you manufactured to create yourself a false identity of who you're not, but who you think you are. That's what ego is. False identity. Yogananda used to call it the masquerading self. How beautiful is that? Yes, you have a mask on called the ego. And that's what you look at and you think it's you. It's not. To remove that mask is the spiritual path. To uncover who's behind. And the only way you can do that is to let go of who you're not. I'm not the one who criticizes. I'm not the one who judges. I'm not the one who thinks who's depressed. I'm not the one who feels sad all the time. You're none of that. But you are all of this because you allow yourself to be pulled down by whatever is coming up and whatever in your life and whatever it's stirring up inside. I mean, I cannot make this even simpler than this. Every situation will spark something for you. And if it's negative, it's because you haven't made peace with that yet. It's giving you clues. It's telling you where your work needs to be done. And you can start doing that now. You don't need to go back 50 years from now and say, oh, it's because that happened. Yes, that's the truth. You are who you are and you're being how you're being because of past experiences. But you're not there anymore. It's like you want to be there then, or you want to be here now. Some people think that it's useful to go back to this event that happened to you or whatever and work with it and allow yourself to experience it and feel it for what it is. Fine, you can try that if you want. That can help. The truth and the fact remains that here are you now. And this happened before. You can go play there if you want, or you can decide now that's enough. And I'm going to work with that now to cleanse it and move on. There's no coping in my world. I leave this to psychotherapists. When you do spiritual work in a spiritual world, when you do spiritual work, you want to transform, you want to transmute even those lower energy. If you work with them and you raise them, they get transmuted to a higher energy. If you're doing that, you're doing it. Don't worry about what's going to happen next and how spiritual you'll be and if you're going to be recognized as that, or how you're going to, if you're going to be in union with life and full bliss and harmony, if you're going to reach God. Don't care about that stuff. Let it do its course. Just focus on doing your work with every moment that's being presented to you at every turn. All right, guys. You can do this. You can do this, and I'm cheering for you. And I love you. Hope that made sense. Hope that made sense. Work with yourself, guys. All right. Until next time. Thank you.